Hi everyone, it's Mark here again, and today I'm answering your questions on ultra-processed food, anxiety and mental health. So please keep your questions coming, we do love them. Just leave a comment, send us an email, whatever you want to do, look for the magic link and we'll answer these the best that we can. So our first question for today is, do ultra-processed foods or UPFs cause anxiety problems? And sadly, yes, they can do if we're eating too much of them or if we're intolerant to them. So what we've got to understand is that these foods are cheap. They're not made of high quality ingredients. They're poor in nutrition and they've usually got addictive fat, sugar, salt, chemicals, sweeteners, additives, and because they're toxic, they may be putting heavy metals into the body. One of the issues is that if we have too much of this sort of food in our diet, it leads to lots of things like candida, leaky gut, weight gain, sluggish energy, but also if the brain isn't getting the nutrition it needs, it often doesn't work. It's exactly the same as your car. You wouldn't put water in your car because you know it would damage the engine and it won't go, but the body's a little bit different. We can tolerate an awful lot of junk for a while, or fast food, and then we get problems later on. So people who typically eat high amounts of ultra-processed foods seem to have health problems because they have deficiencies and they lack vitamins and minerals, and they've also got a lot of intolerance problems. Now we see this an awful lot with children, but we also see an awful lot of people who are busy. They're always on the go, they're not looking after themselves, and they just grab something quick. And that could be something by grabbing a sandwich with white bread. White bread is ultra processed flour. It's not good for us. So we need to be taking care of ourselves and getting on and doing things right. And really what we need to do is we need to move to a healthy diet. However, we do get lots of people who argue, and I get this every week, who say, hang on a minute, I already have a healthy diet. Now, what might be healthy for you might not be healthy to me. So one of the things we do with the program is we get people tested. We get a food intolerance test and we see which food the body is struggling with. And it might be that people believe that oily fish are healthy, but if you're intolerant to fish, and that's quite a big thing lately, that can cause an awful lot of problems. If dairy doesn't suit you, or wheat, that can be an issue. But sometimes healthy foods, we have a lot of people who struggle with tomatoes until we get the system sorted out. So finding the diet that's right for you is important. Not everybody is the same. Next question, if UPFs or ultra-processed foods are so unhealthy for us, why are they allowed to be sold? Well, that's really interesting. So first of all, the government doesn't want to over-police people. They want people to make their own decisions. So they are making changes. I know recently I heard a study saying that people who have high amounts of fast food or junk food are more likely to get into crime and end up in jail. That's quite an interesting statistic. And people who eat healthier diets are less likely to. Now that might be money, there could be a lot of other causation there, but that's quite an interesting thing to do it. The public want convenience. We like things quickly, we like them now, we like fast food because they're fast, and we like things that give us an awful lot of taste. So the public have got a demand for this sort of stuff. It's the same within hospitals. Now it's really interesting because a big part of our client base are doctors and nurses and medical professionals who seem to be having problems with anxiety, stress and depression. But if you look at the food in hospitals, first of all, you look at the food that's been served for lunch to the staff, it's usually not great quality. It's not what the NHS are telling people about. They're telling us we need 5 servings of fruit and veg a day, but they're not following that for the food that's being sold. It's also very interesting that an awful lot of data is out of date. When I first started to get into nutrition, I was told that the NHS was working on data that was 30 years out of date. Lately, I'm told that's come down and it's now 17 years. We know something comes out, but then it doesn't get taken into the mainstream straight away. The other daft thing is the NHS, the way that they work, and there's lots of good people in there. They're trying really hard, and I've got a lot of friends who work there. What happens is that they're trying hard to help people, but they seem to fix things with medication and drugs, where I prefer to prevent things with a healthy diet. So you've got to understand that just because they're the NHS, it doesn't mean they're fully up to date or that they know everything. Slowly over time, we discover new things and we find out what are problems and what aren't. So the question is, how do we remove ultra-processed food from our diet? And the first thing we do when we coach clients is we say, start to carry healthier foods with you. If ever I'm out and about, in my rucksack, I've always got bananas, apples, grapes, nuts. They're so easy to get. However, I can go to most supermarkets and I can find those foods really easily. So when you find you've bought those and you've got those with you, it stops you going for that sandwich or going for that pasty, which is a big thing to do. Meal prep time is so important. Now, one of the things I do, and I've just done it this morning, is I've spent about half an hour making a huge batch of healthy salad to go with every meal for the rest of the week. I've chopped up all the fine little bits. We use a food processor. During the winter, I make a big batch of soup that lasts us most of the week. Finding ways to meal prep will save you a fortune. It means you're not buying food when you're going out, and it just means it's there and it's easy to grab when you need to. Add in more variety. Now, years ago when I started to get into nutrition, Dr. Joe said to me, there's over 100,000 different foods on this planet, and most people stick to a selection of 12. So I know that when I went vegetarian, I started to try new grains, new fruits, new veg, start getting a bigger selection of food. It's amazing how many clients we come across who've never tried pita bread or hummus or avocados. I even went to our local shop once and bought 2 grapefruit, and the new girl on the counter had to ask me what they were because she'd never had a grapefruit before. It's important to learn to cook, not just for you, but if you've got kids. And this is where maybe just once a week you go onto YouTube and you find a recipe for the type of food you like and learn to cook something new. And if you do that just once a week, over a month, there's 4 new dishes. And over the year, you've got over 50 new dishes to try. It drives me mad when I see people who stick to Monday as this and Tuesday as that, and start adding in new foods, try new restaurants, try new cultures of foods. It's amazing how you do that. But by working on this, it can make a big difference. But yes, removing UPFs from the diet, we see this repeatedly with clients. It makes such a difference, and it could be the one thing that's causing your anxiety, but typically it's a combination. I hope that's answered all of your questions. Again, please keep your questions coming. Let's get your anxiety sorted.